Greetings and welcome to the Be the Ultimate Assistant podcast with Bonnie and Vickie. Hello there, I am Vickie Sokol Evans.
And I'm BonnieLow-Kramen.
And Bonnie, this is our very first episode of our podcast series.
I am so excited. This is our virgin experience with podcasts. So we've been talking about this for quite a while.
Yeah, and you have experience in the entertainment industry, so this might be called our pilot episode. So to speak, but I'm really excited about this. Let's tell our listeners, let's get right in and let's tell our listeners why we're doing this finally.
Well, for 25 years, I worked for Olympia Dukakis as her personal assistant, and this workplace in 2015 and moving forward is a very complicated place. It's never been a better time to be an assistant, but it's never been a more complicated time to be an assistant. So our goal for the podcast is to offer episodes that are filled with real-life, actionable content about what's happening this minute in our workplace, filled with information and tools and advice, nuts and bolts strategies, guest speakers who will be coming onto the podcast to pull the curtain back on what is really going on in this workplace. What about you, Vic? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving that, and I love the fact that you're using the term workplace. I mean, obviously, our target is, as far as listeners, our focus is the role of the administrative professional, the assistant in the office, whether it's the executive assistant, administrative assistant, personal assistant. There's so many different titles for this role, but it really isn't just for that particular person. Can we talk a little bit about kind of the people around the assistant that would benefit from attending or listening to the podcast?
Yeah, well, Vickie and I have been traveling the world teaching our Be the Ultimate Assistant 2-day workshops, and what is incredibly clear to us is that the thing that can make or break assistants is their relationship with their managers and one another and recruiters and HR professionals. So that's what makes this complicated. And I think one of the things that makes us crazy is when people who don't know will say, oh, it's so easy to be an assistant. Oh, you're just an assistant. That is so not the way it is right here, right now in this modern workplace. So we're wanting a strong connection between the groups of people who populate this workplace. No one is going to succeed by functioning in a silo anymore, and that means they need to be great at the soft skills of leadership, communication, organization. They're often referred to as people skills. But also, what, Vickie, you bring to the table is the whole hard skills part of the puzzle, that in this workplace, people must be proficient technologically. It's referred to as tech savvy, which I know you have a lot of feelings about. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so absolutely. I have really strong feelings about the term tech savvy assistant. I see that, we see that on resumes all the time, that an executive or manager or an employer is looking for a tech savvy assistant, and most cases it's going to be Microsoft Office, it might be PC or Mac, but because of the different types of position of admin roles in different departments, I think being tech savvy depends on what that role is. And so if you're in a marketing, if you work for an ad agency or a marketing branding company, then your tech savviness may be more focused on social media and marketing data and things like that. But if you're in a corporate environment, financial environment, it just may be financial reports and presentations, not necessarily social media. So I'm coming up with a blog series and some articles about what it means to be a tech savvy assistant. But just to give our listeners a little bit of background about myself, is I am a former assistant, And I have a huge respect and passion for this role as for admins. And as you said, Bonnie, this has never been a more complicated time to be an assistant, because when we were starting our careers 20-some years ago, then we didn't have all of this technology, and it's really, really complicated to try to navigate everything. So I have been teaching productivity courses for PC and Mac for almost 20 years, primarily on the Microsoft platform, but now on the Google, Apple, and Microsoft. I also teach social media privacy, and I travel all over the world as well as you do, Bonnie, and talking with admins and the challenges that we face. They face every single day with regard to keeping up with the latest and greatest and what's important. So my job is to kind of curate all the different technology tools and applications and identify the most important skills for admins in today's workplace. So that's my focus and objective and my why every single day, but also for this podcast. So I'm really excited about partnering with you, Bonnie, because we've been wanting to do this. Like after our 2-day classes, we say to each other, like, we want to continue the conversation beyond class and talk with people, and we hope to have for you to submit your questions and to have you as a guest if you're so inclined to be a guest and give us your best practices and share with the world what you're doing out there that could help other admins.
Right. And a little bit about our background is that Vickie and I have known each other for more than a decade, and it was very clear to me from the very beginning, from the first time I saw her teach and from the first time I spoke with her, about the value of helping assistants stay relevant and up to speed on the technology piece of their work, that to have one without the other, to be a great people person, but to have skills that are out of date and stagnant, will set them up for failure. And indeed, there are a lot of unemployed assistants out there who were very talented and who simply have not had the opportunity or figured out what exactly they need to get back up to speed. And it's an effort. It's a job. As for me, I mean, that's my why. The perspective that Vickie and I have is that the both of us have been all over the world. It's not just that, she's based in Austin, Texas, and I'm based in New Jersey and New York. We can easily speak with assistants from every corner of the United States, plus all over the world. And so that perspective is what we bring to this podcast. So we wanted to be up to the minute and talking quite bluntly about what's the reality. And one of those realities, for example, is the fact that we've got a workplace bullying epidemic around the world. As for me, for 25 years, I worked as the personal assistant to the Oscar-winning actress Olympia Dukakis. And from those first weeks when I was working with her, I was winging it every single day, and I was so aware of the lack of substantive resources for assistants at every level. And then assistants would start talking to me. I went on the search for books, couldn't find them, so I decided I had to write the darn thing myself, and that's why I wrote Be the Ultimate Assistant. My strongest instinct was to seek community, and that led me to helping to co-found New York Celebrity Assistants with 8 other assistants, and now it's grown. The power of networking and mentoring among assistants, that's the secret sauce for moving forward into this next decade. That's Vickie's and my why. That's why we're teaching these workshops. That's the foundation for every webinar we do, every class we do, every presentation we do. It is the importance of sharing information that everyone in this workplace can use and benefit from. And by the way, when these relationships work well, when assistants are skilled and trained, that makes their managers uber productive and their companies more profitable. Everyone wins when training and professional development happens.
Absolutely. And yeah, absolutely. And the good news is, like, there's this like awesome ray of light that I love, is that we're continually getting more and more requests for training specific to admins. And it's such an amazing thing to see. Starbucks, MasterCard, Campbell Soup, New York Times, Microsoft. What were some of the other companies that we've worked with that are developing the Dell?
Dell Computers, and I was at the National Hockey League working with the assistants there. Here's the thing: professional development for the administrative staff in 2015 is a fairly new idea. It's not brandy new anymore, thank goodness. But I mean, Vickie, I don't know about you. I've had dozens of conversations over the last couple of years talking about the first time that this would be the quote-unquote first time that they're ever doing training. And the benefits are so numerous, and it is the smartest managers out there, the smartest executives who are saying yes to this, because really this group of people, 4.1 million assistants in the United States, are our company's most untapped resource, natural resource in companies. It's really a game changer, and Vickie and I are super excited to be a part of it. Happy to see the changes that are happening.
Yeah, because normally, traditionally training is reserved, specific targeted training is reserved for sales professionals, managers, and then, HR professionals and legal professionals. But it's rare to find an organization or a company or a corporation actually creating targeted learning plans for admins. And so it's great to see all of these leading companies do this and connect with us. So if you are an admin with at a company that does have focused, targeted training for admins, we'd love to hear from you. There's a link below for you to connect with us, and we'd love to know what's going on in your organization with regard to training for admins.
Yeah, it's so funny that I will talk to a representative, an EA, an executive assistant from a gigantic company, and they feel very alone and isolated, and they'll say to me things like, well, are we alone in this feeling that we're feeling overwhelmed because each of us is now, we used to support 1 or 2 managers and now we're supporting 5, and we're feeling like there aren't enough hours in the day, and we're just running on empty all the time. And what I assure them of is that they are most definitely not alone, and that's another reason why we want to do this podcast. Vickie, why don't, to that subject, can you talk about the 13% stat, which I think is just so crazy illuminating?
Yeah, it is crazy. So Microsoft did a study a few years back about how we work, just, the average user, how we use the applications, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and any application. And they found that that the average user is only using 13% of an application's capabilities. So without training, and you just open up Word or Excel or, use SharePoint or whatever application you're using, that you're only accessing about 13% of its capabilities. So that leaves a huge 87% of the application just sitting there waiting for you to tap into and be more productive with. So it's eye-opening, and that's and with that, I will mention that admins right now, or assistants right now, are really finding it challenging to keep up with technology, as I mentioned, but specifically when I have several high-level administrative or executive assistants who are used to being on a Mac platform, now moving to a different company that's on a PC platform, and so they have to completely learn all of this hardware and these tools on a new platform, or vice versa. There might be a company, an admin going from PC to now Mac. So it's not enough just to know how to open up Word or Excel or PowerPoint and Outlook, but to know it on different platforms and be able to use the cloud and be able to, edit a PowerPoint on your mobile device or a tablet. It's there's so much out there, and to send an admin or an assistant to generic training for that is really a waste of resources and their time. They really need that targeted training,
right,
for admins.
Absolutely. Without question, this training is absolutely vital. And so on this podcast, we're inviting our listeners to ask questions of Vickie, and you're welcome to go on Vickie's website. The link is below for her free webinar replays. I'm going to admit what our big why is. These efforts, the teaching we're doing, the speaking, the consulting inside companies, this podcast, it is about, if we're successful in galvanizing the people who are really aware of what it's going to take to succeed into this next decade and beyond, we can change the world. We can change the paradigm of what this workplace has been for a very long time to what will make us succeed into the future. And by the way, in doing so, raise salaries, set people up for success and promotion and leadership. Never before have there been as many people getting college degrees as right now. And for the first time in history, there are more women than men in the workplace. And certainly this profession of assistants is dominated by women, 95 to 98% women. And never before in history has the age range in the workplace been as wide as it is right now. We have 20-somethings working right alongside 70 and 80-somethings. Those issues are relevant, and they impact how people are working. So you can see how the complications are multiplying. You've got these relationship issues, which I deal with, and then the productivity piece can be mind-boggling, and I promise you, when Vickie and I go around the world and she teaches technology, there are tears and there is laughter and there is so much, enlightenment about how much time Vickie can save in your day with technology, and so that's what we want to reveal some of those things during this podcast and help our colleagues, the ones who care about being successful, how you can do that, what you actually can do today to make a difference in your career and in the work with your, for yourself and your colleagues and your managers.
And I challenge you too that for all you listeners is to think about, because someone said to me last week, a high-level executive assistant said, well, what do I have to teach other people? I'm not really an expert at anything. And, Bonnie has a great exercise about, identifying what you're expert at, like what are you really, really good at? Each one of us is really good at something. So even though you think you might not have something that you could teach other people, even just knowing what Uber is, I remembered someone said, I didn't even know what Uber is, but apparently everyone around me does, but I don't know what it is, and it would have saved my company so much money by knowing that information. So even if you know what Uber is, or the coolest apps or gadgets, or where to find the best, all the different gluten-free restaurants in your area, there's always going to be someone that could benefit from that. So we invite you to, think about what you're expert at, and let us know. We're going to be having guests on our show, and we'll be spotlighting EAs all over the world. So just send in your ideas to us and let us know just whatever you want to hear us talk about, any topics. We're going to have topics for recruiters. So if you know of a recruiter interested in learning more about the demands of the profession and development of this role, we invite you to send them our way, because we're definitely going to have lots of great things for recruiters as well as HR departments.
Right. I mean, as we move forward into the future in this workplace, the number one problem I'm seeing that if we can tackle this successfully, the world really is going to change, and that is the issue of speaking up. That there is far too much suffering and silence in the workplace, and we have to crack this. So I've taken on a new mantra. It's on my LinkedIn profile if anybody wants to check it out, and it's called Speak Truth to Power. That is the way we're going to make some significant changes in the workplace, and hopefully this podcast will be supporting everyone who's listening to do precisely that the only way we can solve problems is through awareness, and awareness is only gained if we speak up. So I'm going to speak up, Vickie's going to speak up, and we're going to take a hack at making the workplace a better place to be.
And you have some great examples of people that have written into you, Bonnie, via email or LinkedIn or, in person, about how you inspired them to speak up, and it transformed them, and it allowed them to secure funding for training. It allowed them to speak up and stand up to somebody who was bullying them. It allowed them to command more respect in meetings. Like the things that the transformations that are happening just by your mantra, speak truth to power, it's really affecting admins all over the world, and the perception and the respect that they so deserve. So I hope that we're able to share so many stories. And if you have I'm looking forward to that. We've got lots of stuff going on the podcast that I can't wait to just dive into.
Yeah, so we truly, sincerely want to hear from you, and to tell us what's burning in your workplace. What's the problem? One of the most compelling topics in our workshop is the dealing with difficult people and difficult situations, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So you've got the people issues, and then you have the technology issues, and we need to look at it as with a 360 view in order to help people succeed. We welcome your input, questions, ideas. That's going to be one of the most exciting things about doing this.
Do we want to kind of share some of the different episode topics that we're going to be looking at in the series?
Yeah, fire away, Vic.
Okay, so and I'm not sure when you're listening to this podcast, but we are going to be having our next episode 2, will be about looking back, like the history and importance of this role, and the importance of professional development and having a learning path. And so we'll have a special guest for that. We'll also have an episode on travel planning. We'll have an episode about kind of work-life balance. What else? Job hunting, career management is going to be a focus of one of the episodes. Gift giving and planning, and other ones. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about personal branding. That it's so important these days to understand how you're being perceived out in the world on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook, and what are some of the downsides of all of that social media, the ups and downsides. Certainly, stress management. We hear a lot how the stress levels in our workplace is off the charts for assistants and managers. So we need to tackle that. We certainly are going to be talking about technology issues such as the hottest, latest apps and resources and websites that are going to make your life easier, your manager's life easier. You're going to save time. No question about it. So.
And I remember somebody came up to me and said, I would love to have a topic on how to manage or work with multiple managers. So when you're
that's a hot
supporting
one.
more than one person, how do you balance that? So we will definitely have some guest speakers about that, some people that are doing it very successfully. And so you don't want to miss that one. And again, we'd love your ideas on different topics.
Yeah, I feel like it's at our workshops and what I see out in this world we're living in right now is it's not black and white anymore. It's not cookie cutter. I'm not sure it ever really was, but there's the need is stronger than ever for us to approach our work, whatever work you're doing, in a customized, personalized way. That we're living in a rather impersonal world with all of the technology that we have and the ways we're communicating. But the bottom line is we're all still human, and we all only get 24 hours in a day. So it comes down to how are we using those hours? What are we doing with them? So that, we're not at a certain age and we look back and we say, oh my gosh, where have the last 10 years gone? So we're hoping that you'll spend time with this podcast and allow us to take a shot at helping you use your 24 hours in the best way we know how.
I love that. What a great way to end our very first episode. Love it. Well, is there anything else you want to say, Bon, before we end our inaugural pilot show?
No, except that we look forward to your emails and your communications with us. It's a whole new world, and Vickie and I would love nothing more than to help you do your work better, faster, and happier.
Absolutely. I echo that. Well, thank you, everyone, for taking the time out of your day to listen to our very first Be the Ultimate Assistant podcast. And we'll hope to see you on our next episode. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.